Ladies and gents, PepperBelly back again with some Star Wars Battlefront, and I want to talk about exactly what the hell happened to this game. Because if you guys watched my previous Star Wars videos, you are well aware that I actually liked and had fun with it. I was like, it's a fun game. Simple as that. And that's all I wanted from a Star Wars game, was something that was fun. Despite the fact that it did things differently from the classic Battlefront games, this is a reboot, so it gives it some leniency on how it wants to add and implement new features and mechanics to kind of give it its own unique feel and style. But anyway, it changed. Not in a dramatic way. The game is exactly the same, but they changed some elements that kind of made it less appealing to me personally. So I want to kind of go down that list, but the first thing I want to cover right off the bat is its pricing, because this has been a hot debate since its release. There's actually an article that's cited saying how using game time that was given to individuals for free, I think actually if you use EA Access, you get access to certain games as well, where you can try them out for free. Even everyone who's on Origin can try out certain games for a certain period of time, usually an allotted amount of hours that you're allowed to trial the game. And they said that actually demoralized consumers and actually made them not really want to purchase the game, because they got to see just how empty it felt after many hours. Actually, not even many hours. You can literally play the game for 1 hour and encounter and experience all the content the game has to offer. That is a shame, but I will get to that in a second. The price itself, because the game is so limited in what it actually has to offer, it has 4 main planets. And the reason why I'm saying planets and not maps is because there are different variations of the maps within those planets. So Endor's got a forest day map, and it's got a forest night map, and then you got a whole bunch of other maps like Tatooine with its own variations in different time zones, and some of them have minor differences in locations on where they actually are. But in the grand scheme of things, it's just the same 4 like rehashed environments, the same 4 maps, but they're just planets and whatever. And then you have a few key game modes. Like, the game modes are fun, but the main ones are like Supremacy and Walker Assault. It's so lacking for a $60 title. It doesn't make any sense. Now, what I'm about to say, it's not easy for me to say, but even Rainbow Six Siege does things better. That hurt a little. I didn't want to say that, because for those of you who have been subscribed to me for a while and have watched all my videos, you will know my thoughts on Rainbow Six Siege. And I'm not talking about gameplay, obviously, because they're wildly different games. I'm talking about the way they went about marketing and selling their game. Battlefront is giving you 1/4 of a game up front. So you're getting barely any content. No single player, very limited multiplayer content, maps, whatever. Very bare bones. And then there's adding DLC with season passes and all this other crap that's going to cost you even more money, which is going to make up the rest of the game. But they're charging you for it, which is ridiculous, right? That's like, why am I paying more for less? That's literally what you're doing with Star Wars Battlefront. It doesn't make any sense. And then you look at Rainbow Six Siege, and they're charging full price for their game, and I'm very against it. But at least they have a reasonable, ethical reason for it, because they're going to give all future DLC for free. All of it. Everything in the future is free. So they're giving you half of a product, or a quarter of a product, but at least you're going to get your money's worth in the long run when they give you all the DLC for free. So instead of selling the product for $30 and then selling an additional DLC pack or season pass for another $30, they're just going to charge straight up front, but then you get all of it for free later on. The rest of the content they're going to release. Now, obviously I'm more in line of, I want to pay for what I'm getting. That's how I'm more in line with it. But I know I'm going to get DLC down the line. That's a certain fact. But at least the way they're doing it and their reasons for it is because they don't want to split the player base. And that I'm totally fine with. Not splitting the player base, giving everyone free DLC for a full, like, a product will be full, it'll be fully complete, technically, if you count all the DLC later on. So it makes sense. And that I can tolerate. But I can't tolerate selling a game that's half-baked and then trying to sell me all the toppings after that for even more. It doesn't make any sense, and that's what the Battlefront is doing. So I don't approve, it bugs me. Thankfully, I picked it up for 16% off, so I don't feel like as much of a burn in my wallet as other people who have paid full price. Because I pity the fool who paid full price for this. Seriously. But on the plus side, let's talk about something positive. The graphics. This is no... a blind man can see how beautiful this game looks. Alright, like, it's probably one of the best looking games, if not the best looking game I have ever played to date. Running around on Endor with the foliage actually reacting to your character, bouncing around, all the physics there is like nerdgasm. Alright, like, I probably climaxed 3 or 4 times running through Endor. I'm just gonna come straight clean with that, because it's such an impressive looking game. It really is, and it's so well optimized that it makes me look at Call of Duty Black Ops 3, and it makes me think, how can your game run so poorly? I don't get it. But anyway, it's a phenomenal looking game. And this game deserves credit for that. Same with the sound assets. This is something I covered in the beta, like the video I made for the beta a while back. The sound assets, absolutely exceptional, amazing, well done. All the visual and the technical assets of the game are absolutely incredible. But now I want to talk about one thing that I noticed immediately, which is one of my favorite things to do in all games that allow for it, is flying. And unfortunately, they changed the flying controls in this game to be horrendous for a mouse and keyboard. Let me just specify specifically, because controllers now actually have really good controls. Alright, flying around with a controller is really good. But what they essentially did for a mouse and keyboard user is they took away the direct input of the actual crosshair itself, and instead you're guiding the crosshair where to go. Sounds strange, I don't really know how to explain it better than that, but I'll try. Essentially, when you play most games, think of like Battlefield, where you're flying around with the mouse and keyboard, and the action you input on your mouse is exactly what is reflected on screen, changing the pitch and yaw of your aircraft very, very precisely, because it acts like any other crosshair would, like in first person. You're not trying to move your it's not mimicking an analog stick or a joystick. To put it in the simplest term possible, if I have the mouse in the center of my mouse pad and I move it to the right, it'll keep my character turning right. If I want to stop turning right, I have to move my mouse back to the center of my mouse pad. Does that sound like a really good way of playing a first-person shooter? Absolutely not. That's a horrible way of playing a first-person shooter, but that's literally what the flight controls are in Battlefront now with the mouse and keyboard. Does that sound fun? Because it surely as hell isn't. It's terrible. Dice. Why? Ugh, it's so bad. I mean, it does auto-center over time. Like, if I move my mouse to the right, it'll gradually auto-center. I mean, obviously it's gonna do that. They're not gonna make it so you really have to, like, move your mouse to the center of your... But it has that feeling. That's the kind of control scheme it's using. And it's terrible. It's so bad that if you get in a fighter and you try to fly around and kill some stuff or do strafing runs on the ground or whatever, you're not gonna kill or hit anything. It's really hard, especially when someone actually has a controller, because then you're gonna just get destroyed. And I actually thankfully I have a wireless adapter on my PC that I use my Xbox 360 controller with. So I'm able to flip back and forth very, very seamlessly, which is actually good, but I shouldn't have to do that. I don't want to have to use a controller just to get a benefit when a mouse should give me the exact same, if not more so, of a performance enhancement. Like, it should be no different at the very minimum. And in the beta, it had that same system where you had direct input, so like most flight controls in most games, only it would kind of try to auto-center anyway. The crosshair was fighting you all the time. All they had to do was fix that so that you don't have to fight the crosshair and suddenly, boom, you have perfect flight controls. But instead, they went in the completely opposite direction and ruined everything. And I do not approve. It sucks. At least give us the option to choose, because it is a PC game. You have plenty of options there right now. Let us have the options to pick. That would be friggin' fantastic, and I would love it. On the plus side, they did fix some of the sensitivity issues with going from vehicles to turrets to all that, so that has been fixed. That's a lot nicer, and I no longer need to use the DPI on my mouse all the time to rectify those issues. So that's a nice step in the right direction. So kudos to DICE for fixing that. But now I want to talk about the actual game itself. The equipment, the weapons, all of that. I want to address how it plays, how it feels. Now, one thing I was concerned with initially from playing the beta, which I kind of covered vaguely in my videos back then, was the star cards. You know, initially I was like, the star cards seemed like a horrendous idea. Like, please don't do it. Like, you're gonna ruin the game. And then after playing the beta, I was like, okay, they're not too bad, and they're not overly, like, they're not impairing gameplay or hindering it in any substantial way. It's actually kind of, alright, this isn't bad. And I was kind of okay with it. I was like, alright, let's see where this goes when the game is actually released, because obviously we're only getting like a half or a fraction of what's going to be in the actual fully released product. So I was kind of sitting there, we'll wait and see, right? That wait and see attitude to see if they really are that bad. And I can fully tell you right now that yes, they are insanely terrible. Because in the beta, the limited selection of star cards you had were actually not, we're not overbearing on players, or not destroying the gameplay feel or the immersion factor of the actual game itself. But now that the game is released, of course, we have grenade spamming. I feel like I'm playing Metro in friggin' Battlefield, alright? Like, grenade spamming is just a nightmare. It's everywhere, it's crazy, it's god-awful. Why is it happening? And then they also have one-shot kill weapons on a lot of troops. Like, to shoot a player, an actual player, not a vehicle, they die relatively easily. Half the weapons you get are instant kills. You have instant impact grenades. You throw a grenade, it detonates on impact. You throw that at somebody, guess what? You kill them, guaranteed. They're not going to get away from that. You use that lock-on weapon that targets infantry. It's the same thing as the ion cannon. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but it locks onto infantry. And unless you're behind cover, you are going to die. If you can't break line of sight of that incoming projectile, that missile, you're going to die. It's going to hit you 100%, and that's it. If you're using the pulse cannon is going to annihilate you. It's a charged-up weapon. If you charge it to full blast, anywhere on the body is an instant kill. Are you noticing a trend here? Star cards are recharging, renewable, constantly available, overpowered one-shot kill weapons, for the most part. The cycler rifle in the beta was tremendously effective, but at least, if you shot the guy in the body, if you shot a player in the body, it was not an instant kill. It was only an instant kill if you hit them in the head. That was its trade-off, so it wasn't super overpowered or really annoying to deal with. You got shot by a cycler rifle, just get behind cover, let your health regen, there you go, no big deal. It didn't really enforce abusive behaviors, right? You weren't sitting there abusing the fact that you had a cycler rifle. It was kind of just there to kind of help you get a kill or so every now and again. But now that you got a whole bunch of players running around with all these abilities like barrage and all this crazy crap where you can just instant kill everything and slaughter everyone, it really takes away from actually getting into firefights. Actually sitting down and watching lasers blasting all over the place because you're trying to kill each other with your blasters. It kind of negates that whole experience, which sucks to me. I don't like that because it detracts it all. And it's not fun. It really isn't. I'd rather get into a gunfight than rely on all these crazy, ridiculous star card abilities. Am I the only one? I feel like I'm the only one. I mean, I think firefights are a hell of a lot more fun and intense than just watching grenades and shit get spammed all over the place until everyone's blown the fucking hell. But hey, that's just me. What do you want, right? It could just be me, I don't know. That's how I feel personally, and it takes away the whole like, I feel like I'm playing Battlefield 4 or even Call of Duty. It's like, you might as well just add in kill streaks. That's literally how I'm feeling right now. You want to go the full, just add in kill streaks, get to that point. You might as well just do it, because that's pretty much what you're kind of trying to achieve here, is oversaturated nonsense. Now, something else that's actually bugged me as well, which I'm not entirely, I don't know why some games do this, and Battlefront's doing this right now, is combining an unlock system with a credit system. I don't understand why I have to unlock something. Like most games, 9 times out of 10, whatever item you unlock, you'll have enough credits to purchase. And then you'll waste your credits purchasing that item you just unlocked. And by the next time you unlock the next piece of equipment, or weapon or whatever, then you end up earning the credits needed to unlock that as well. So it just turns into basically being a regular unlock system. So why have the credits in the first place, right? And Battlefront, there is a little bit more options to choose from. Like, if there's a crap load of things you unlock initially and you only have so many credits to spend on one or the other and you have to pick and choose more wisely, then yeah, okay, that system kind of works. But for the most part, it's not usually how it plays out. Star Wars Battlefront kind of falls into a happy medium there, where it gives you some to choose from, but more likely than not, you're going to have a very obvious one you're going to want to get. And it's usually the same for almost every single player. So, I mean, it's a little bit lacking there. Like, I don't know why you have... Everything should be unlocked. And part of this is because of the overpowered DL-44 blaster pistol. That thing 3-shots you in close range, and at longer ranges, the damage drop-off is a little bit higher, but it's still a viable weapon to be used against you, which is annoying because, let's be honest, if you have not gone up against it, I haven't unlocked it yet, but it's extremely overpowered, and it's really annoying, and they should have made it so that all gadgets, weapons, everything can be unlocked at your leisure, like, depending on if you have the credits. Like, make the credit values higher as they are now, because on top of that, everything is ranked by how good and effective it is by its expense, its price range. So, either way, the player still has to earn those credits instead of having to level up all the way to 40 to be able to unlock a certain ability and then have to buy it. Why do that when you can just make it so that the player has to work for it either way without having to level up all the way? It just helps mitigate that tedious nature of having to farm and grind and level just to unlock something, and then on top of that have to save up the credits just to buy it. It doesn't make any sense to me, and it's something I'm not particularly fond of. Because that pistol is insanely overpowered, and it's given to all pre-order players first and foremost, and it's going to get nerfed, and by the time it gets nerfed, none of us are going to get to experience it. So it's going to be kind of like this... I don't know. It seems like it's intentionally made to be overpowered so that people who pre-ordered the game get to use it and slaughter all of us until eventually they nerf it when it will. But I don't know. That's how I feel right now. However, one thing I actually can say that they did for the better, which I'm pretty happy about, is the heroes. The heroes initially... the way it was before, which I didn't particularly like, was you would spawn in and your health was a timer. So instead of spawning in and you have your health and then you have a separate timer telling you how long you have to use your hero, no, it was like your health was the timer, meaning it would deplete over time, which was ridiculous. So if you wanted to be effective, you had to get in the fight as quickly as possible and slay things. And if you didn't, then you were pretty much going to get into the fight later on with no health. And be a joke, because they would just shoot you 3 or 4 times, and then you're dead. You did take and absorb more damage than you do now, but at least now you can be more passive, and you don't have to be overly aggressive, and you can really think how you want to approach any given situation, which can make you actually last far longer as a result. And playing as heroes is certainly a blast because of that. It's almost like a pun, because blasters, right? Am I right? Oh my god. Okay. I'm on like 30 hours no sleep, guys. Forgive me. But terrible jokes are inbound. But I mean, that's one thing I can say I'm certainly happy about. Now, some people were thinking that they should include a timer because it does allow for that passive kind of play style, but I really think they shouldn't, because I think it's the way it is right now. Give a good player a hero and he utilizes it fully. That should be a reward. You know, like a player should be allowed to do that if he can. He shouldn't be restricted or penalized for being able to play a hero very intelligently, because that's something that should be rewarded. A player should be allowed to do that if you can. And I kind of just remembered I wanted to talk about vehicles as well, because vehicles seem to have been... I'm almost doing like a compliment sandwich here. Like, here's a positive, here's a negative, here's a positive, here's a negative. I'm all over the place trying to like articulate my thoughts here, but the vehicles feel nerfed. Like going around the ATST, like I know the ATST needed to be nerfed to a degree because you were able to just absolutely decimate the enemy in the beta, which I loved. I mean, it was so satisfying to like roll around and just slaughter everything and everyone in front of you. But now they're nerfed to the point where you could spawn in an ATST and get killed before you even get in the fight, just because everyone spams you with rockets and you're done. This is part of the reason why I'm saying that star cards are a terrible idea. I really miss the idea of having a class system, right? Like, oh, this is an engineer, he has a rocket launcher. Or this, and a repair tool, or like, you know, certain classes can deal with certain, but now everyone just, it kind of does the class system artificially through star cards, but the fact that they're renewable all the time, and you can pick up abilities on the map, battle pickups, that allow you to replenish your card cooldown instantly, allows for spamming to be so much more prevalent, which I don't like. And ATSTs used to be something to be feared, and I liked fearing it. Playing as a rebel, I actually liked being scared of an ATST, like you would in real life. If I came up to an ATST in real life, I wouldn't be like, yeah, I want to freaking jump back through the air and take this thing on like a boss. Like, no, man, you'd be shitting your pants trying to find cover and find a different way of taking it and dealing with it. But unfortunately now, it's like, they're weak as hell. Simple blaster fire can actually, by enough people, can seriously deteriorate your friggin' health in the ATST and just completely blow it up. And it's ridiculous. It's a little bit annoying and sad, but I don't know. I feel like too many people complained about it, and they just nerfed everything. Even the fighters can get shot down like relatively quickly. Like everything just seems to happen a lot faster now. Where vehicles used to be a powerful asset, now they seem a little watered down. And it's kind of going back to the speeder bike as well. Like that little speeder bike you can zoom around on, like, is completely useless. It really is. What? I mean, I try to get, maybe with a controller it's actually viable, but with a mouse and keyboard it's just as bad as piloting, if not worse. It's the worst vehicle in the game for actually controlling. It has no way, you can't control it, you can't even aim or shoot it. The whole point of it is just to drive around and pretend you're literally in Star Wars, like, yeah, I run the speeder bike through Endor, hell yeah. But to actually fight anyone, no. It's just, it's bad. But anyway, I digress. I've already covered a lot of things that I wanted to get off my chest, and we're at like 20 minutes now. I want to end this video here. I will probably follow up with more videos in the future, talking about things a little bit more in detail, like some of the nitpicking a little bit more. But this is just my kind of first impressions of the game. I kind of just wanted to get this off my chest because I'm disappointed. I really am. But all of that said, the core gameplay itself is extremely fun and satisfying. It really is. And that's what's a shame, because it's kind of oversaturated with all this nonsensical bullshit that detracts it from the core experience, which is how I feel. It's like Call of Duty, right? I look at Call of Duty, I think the gunplay is solid. It's not realistic, it's arcadey, but as a twitch shooter kind of killing each other with guns, it's a solid gaming experience. But it's so oversaturated with all this extra nonsense that it detracts from that experience, making it just a bloated mess. And that's why a lot of people don't like the game. If you stripped away all those other things, all the kill streaks, all the abilities, all that, and even the melee, and just focus strictly on gunplay, it would be a pretty fun game. It would be an exceptional game. But the fact that it has all that extra stuff is, anyway, I already said it, just detracts from that core gameplay experience. Star Wars is falling into the same kind of category. Like, it feels bloated without having all the crazy weapons. It's like you have simple weapons with no customization, but then you have a ton of star cards that just make it feel that way. It's not as bad as Battlefield 4, with its overly complicated assortment of options and available equipment and gadgets, but it's like still giving you that sensation, that feeling, that just kind of detracts from, as I said, the core gameplay experience. So, anyway, I said I was going to end the video like 2 minutes ago and ended up rambling again, so I'm going to actually end it for certain right now. My name's been PepperBelly. Thank you guys for joining me today, and I will see you guys on the next one.